All right, folks. So I know you could continue to talk for hours and hours, but I'm going to cut you off now. And we just want to go around the room and share what tables have talked about. So does anybody want to start us off before you get voluntold? All right, perfect.
Thank you. So a number of topics, they're probably going to be similar, I would guess, across the room, but a couple of things that have challenged this group in the last 12 months or more. Childcare for workers, finding solutions for that. The ability to recruit into shift has been extremely difficult, second and third shift, and see that continuing. The impact of overtime on workers and people's willingness to work that overtime has been big. The impact of the Great Resignation and having to backfill through recruiting efforts with that. When everyone was trying to hire and grow, hiring processes were weak or weren't established because people hadn't hired in a while. So the process, the decisions weren't there to support a significant amount of hiring. So standardizing that process. And then finally, training. Moving to establish stronger training programs, train the trainers, the tools that you can use for training, and continuous improvement was the other one. So.
Thank you. And just so everybody knows, when you report back, do me a favor, make sure you're talking into the mic because we are recording this so that I can transcribe it. And for the folks, I know last year, having the report backs was important to have. So we are doing that again this year. So just so you know. Who else wants to share? And I'm not going to make every table because I don't want a whole lot of, us too, us too, us too. So you can share the stuff that wasn't mentioned if you want.
I just like to see Matt going back and forth across the floor. So if the next table that goes be the back corner over there. One thing that we probably a lot of us in this room have in common is that aging workforce. And the fact that young people in general are probably not attracted to the manufacturing segment. Our table came up with more solutions than problems, which is kind of cool. A lack of young people in the business, and I'm on the paperboard side, right? So lack of women, period, right? So if you're not attracting women, that's 50% of the workforce. Another thing is not just hiring and retaining, but hiring engaged people, and engagement comes definitely from your company's culture. But the people that are coming in also have to have a degree of give a shit to begin with, right? So, and there's a lot out there that probably don't seem like they do. Pardon my language. So what else? Culture was something we talked about a lot. The culture of servant leadership. Creating a culture of community and including things like actually being active in the community and volunteerism, because a lot of young people are looking for more meaning than, I made a roll of paper, right? What is my company doing for the community, and specifically local community, was a really good, good idea, and something that gives people just a broader sense of contribution, and also just your business and creating deeper context. I made a book today. This book changed somebody's life. So giving people more information around the impact of their work. Did I miss anything?
Awesome. So Inger says you should add "Do you give a shit" to your applications. All right. All right. Yep. Chad?
So we talked about finding the right people for the right shift, and not everybody's going to have a lifestyle that fits all of our different shifts. So working hard to make sure that you select the right people for those. We talked about more in-depth cross-training, that people want to buy into a future. And that if we give new staff the opportunity to broaden their perspective throughout the business, that will help with retention long-term as well. We talked a fair bit about succession and the challenges that come with retaining new staff while they're waiting for the older generation of staff to retire and move out of the business. And we ended off with the importance of leadership and that turnover is highly affected by frontline leadership and the importance of really investing in helping leaders be good leaders. And we actually talked about how this industry is known for promoting technical trade people into leadership positions, and that could be creating that environment where you actually have an inadequate leader who's there because of their technical skills. And so we talked about hiring leaders off the street that have no understanding of print or of bookbinding, but supplementing them with subject matter experts so that they can do the leadership piece while somebody else can handle some of the technical side. And so I thought there were some good ideas shared.
Great. Any other tables want to share something that hasn't been mentioned already? Yeah, David?
The few that we had that were a little different from that I haven't heard before. One is different structures of your company. We mentioned ESOP or ownership programs within the company, and also profit sharing programs that offer more transparency so the people understand what they're working for and can share into the success, hopefully, of the company. The other thing was communicating your total, it was called total value statement, which is not just the dollars per hour that you can possibly make, but giving you a whole statement that gives you what the benefits, healthcare, all the different programs, what they all add up to. So you have a whole statement. It's not just $18 or $20 an hour. So those are the ones that we had.
All right, well, sounds like some of y'all may have jumped the gun a little because the next part of this is solutions to those problems. Yeah. So in your tables, pick one or two of the problems that you just identified and share some, if you have solutions to those problems that you've already accomplished in your company that have been successful, share those, or brainstorm at your table what are some possible solutions to one or two of these problems that you're running into. So share some wins or brainstorm some new ones. We'll get back together in 15 minutes and share those solutions, okay? Thanks. So, who has some fantastic solutions that you want to share with this great group that they can take back, implement, and save their companies? And I figured it'd be Rich. He's probably got to have all the answers right here.
No. Okay, all right, here we go. Faster training of new employees with a narrower range. You know, we tend to, in this industry, say you're going to be a CSR and it's going to take you 3 years to learn your job. We know no one's going to stay around necessarily for 3 years, so one of the opportunities is to change the expectation of what they're going to learn and get them up to speed faster. Culture was a big conversation, so the point that potentially you have to be more aggressive about pruning for toxic employees. That is really painful, and that is and it can be very difficult, but especially when you have the mixture of a younger generation of employees and a senior generation of employees. Do you really want a senior person who might be overly crabby influencing the younger employees? And that's a major consideration. We veered off into two other conversations were interesting. One is the fact that many of us live or work in states in which marijuana is legal. And I think the point here that you were trying to get at was, how do you deal with that? And what does it say at the top of your application?
Would you test for anything worse than marijuana?
So I think that's this is Rich Letchinger's comment. I think that's a very mature way of dealing with the fact that it is real, and we have less than 2.5% unemployment in the county we're in Wisconsin. If we choose to ignore everybody who potentially might test positive for marijuana, which I think we're doing right now, it certainly limits the pool. And last but not least, we were talking about the fact that music or wearing headphones are considerations for culture, for an employee, to have the ability to hear music. And so the issue is, if you have personal headphones, or do you let Joe's got a deal where every machine can have a little Bluetooth speaker, and that crew can determine what music they want to listen to for the day. That sounds to me like a low-cost, high probability way of making a happy group of employees.
Thank you. Who else? What do you got? Okay.
So we talked about some solutions earlier in the first round, but I would say a couple of things that we talked about was bringing a sense and meaning to everything that you do as an organization, making sure that your employees understand that. You know, we talked about they might be the person that's just doing a bindery aspect of the organization, but do they really recognize that that book that they're producing on the back end of it could be, a CPR training manual or a Bible or something that really brings value to somebody's life. Few people have tried to even bring the author back into their organizations to have them do like a signing type of event so they could, meet that person. We talked about some companies in the past were not very open. Some are, some aren't, to hiring family. And so what's that value of hiring family members back into the organization? We did talk about the dynamics of the good and the bad of living in a small town, and what that means. If you have a small population, sometimes that's a good thing for an organization, and sometimes it's not. We talked about internships, ways to make print sexy again, and helping the younger generation understand what that is through internships. We have educational programs like the University Inkjet program, where we connect students in universities with people like you guys in the industry who are producing print, and flexibility, I think, was one of the other things that we mentioned. Did I forget anything? No?
Thank you. Who else? Come on, somebody had to have some wins, something that was worth sharing. Oh, then you're going to tell me that. That sounds about right. Just for that, Todd, you have to talk now. I guess my wife has gotten a hold of all you guys and said, make him walk around.
We had a fun conversation on culture around connection. Do an open house for your employees to bring family members in to see what they're up to, and make a connection with the value that they bring. Connecting in the community, being able to show that, printing younger generation doesn't necessarily understand how cool it can be with packaging and those sort of things. So how do they get a different sense of what that is? Work-life balance, paying attention to how much overtime there is, make adjustments and commitments to people. Like for service people, can they fly out on a Monday morning instead of on a Sunday night and get home early enough on Friday to have a weekend together? On the other extreme, someone saw a lone wolf premium, where if it's a safe environment, but you have a single operator instead of two operators, but you increase that pay substantially, that makes it worth that environment. And the other one was years ago, I don't know how much organizations are doing this today, but give us a 3-year commitment and we'll pay for your college education, and we'll get those 3 years of activity. So those were a few ideas we had.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right. Well, I guess you're just sharing the good stuff with your own table, and you don't want to give it to other people. I get it. So that will be kind of the format for this afternoon and tomorrow morning as well, right? We'll talk about problems, share, talk about solutions, share. That's kind of how the roundtable format will work. So Appreciate it. Before we break for lunch, we do have one thing we'd like to do, and I'd like to call up Board Vice President and Chair of the Awards Committee, Mr. Mark Levin, to announce the winner of the 2023 BMI Rising Star Award.
Okay. Test. Okay. So as I was saying, and you didn't hear me, I'm the only thing standing between you and lunch. Hello, everyone. I wanted to say a few things before we let everyone go grab their lunch. First of all, Dave McCree sends his regards. He was unable to attend. Our president wanted to make sure everybody was having a good conference. I've shared with him what went on yesterday, the evening, and I will sum up with him today the events of the day. We're excited to continue the Rising Star Award, now in its 4th iteration. For those not familiar with this award, BMI wanted a chance to recognize some of the wonderful talent we have in our member companies. That talent may fly under the radar a bit because those folks haven't been in the industry for decades like some of us in the room. I think that's why Matt asked me to speak and say those words. This year's award goes to someone who works in a very important part of the book space, paper. This person has been able to contribute professionalism, knowledge, and most importantly, energy to his company and the industry. He is constantly on the go and makes an effort to provide the best service to all of his customers. He has attended several workshops, BMI events, and more importantly, spent countless hours with long-term industry professionals to learn and grow as a future leader in our industry. He's participated in podcasts and discussions with next generation of leaders in the industry, and has also taken his time to speak to graphic arts students from local high schools in the Chicago area about our industry. With that, I'd like to announce that this year's Rising Star Award goes to Brendan Wilson of Roland. Congratulations. Picture? You want to say a few words? You're welcome to if you'd like. Sure. Now that you're on the dais.
When he said he was the only thing between you and lunch, I'm the only thing between you and lunch. So I'll be quick. Thank you. This is an honor to accept this. I was talking to my wife yesterday before I flew down here and reflecting a little bit about the 12 years I've had in the industry. And, you know, I was a baby when I joined. 2011, I graduated college, came right into the industry. And, you know, at that point, learning Paper 101, learning about commercial printing, really developing relationships in the real world for the first time, right? And I laughed with her, and hopefully no one in here takes this offensively, but I said, I'm still a baby. And it's not because I don't have gray hair yet, but there's just still so much to learn, right? And I think that's why events like this are important, because it allows us to all come together, talk about the industry, talk about the challenges we face, and hopefully provide solutions to one another. So thank you. Now everyone can eat.
Thanks again. So by the way, with that short speech, you know why we chose a great candidate for the Rising Star Award this year. Enjoy your lunch. It's right next door. Yeah, thank you.